Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are taking a high-energy deep dive into one of the most fascinating and, let's be entirely honest, sometimes deeply frustrating habits of the human mind. Think for a second about how much of your day is actually spent completely inside your own head. Research suggests we spend up to half of our waking hours just lost in thought, totally detached from the immediate world around us. And a massive chunk of that mental real estate? Well, it's devoted to a very specific quirky behavior. Have you ever caught yourself completely zoned out, wondering why your brain absolutely loves to rehearse conversations that haven't even happened yet? Well, you are in the exact right place. We're going to unpack the incredible science and psychology behind why our brains do this, and how understanding it can literally change the way you view your own thoughts.
So let's start with a quick question, and I want you to be totally honest with me here. Have you ever flawlessly won an argument in the shower against someone who wasn't even there, right? You absolutely know the scenario. You're washing your hair, the hot water is running, and suddenly, boom, you are delivering the most devastating, perfectly articulate comebacks to your boss, your partner, or maybe just that random stranger who cut you off in traffic yesterday. Or, maybe for you, it happens at 2 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling, carefully scripting out exactly what you're going to say at a meeting the next day. It is a wildly universal human experience. We all do it. But before you start wondering if you're the only one losing your grip on reality, I'm here to tell you there is actual, concrete psychology behind why we do this.
Part 1. The imaginary conversation phenomenon. Okay, let's dive into this. To really get to the bottom of why we spend so much of our waking lives meticulously scripting these hypothetical dialogues, we need to understand something fundamental. I want to reassure you right out of the gate, this is not a character flaw. It's a highly specific psychological response. Scripting these imaginary conversations is not a sign of neurosis. You're not crazy for pacing around your kitchen, muttering half sentences to an empty room while you wait for your coffee to brew. Actually, scratch that. It's more like your brain is actively working for you. It's a calculated action your brain takes when faced with the vast, unpredictable nature of the world. It's essentially attempting to create a safe blueprint for an unknown future. Moving right along to part 2, anticipatory anxiety and simulation as the underlying drivers. To truly grasp the mechanics of this, we need to look under the hood. Let's shift gears and examine 2 core clinical concepts, anticipatory anxiety and mental simulation. Understanding how these 2 forces interact, that's the master key to decoding why our brains work overtime on scripts that, let's face it, will probably never be spoken out loud. So, anticipatory anxiety is defined as the increased fear or worry about a future event, which drives a massive need for predictability. Notice how that definition specifically targets the future. We humans are biologically wired to seek out patterns, routine, and safety. Imagine looking at your phone and seeing a "we need to talk" text from your boss. Instantly, your stomach drops, right? That is anticipatory anxiety in action. When we look ahead and see uncertainty, a difficult performance review, confronting a friend, it triggers our deep-seated evolutionary discomfort with the unknown. The amygdala, our brain's threat detection center, essentially rings a massive alarm bell because, quite simply, it hates surprises. Now, what's really interesting about this next slide is how the brain tries to solve that biological alarm bell. The brain proposes a solution, mental simulation. This is the cognitive process of imagining or rehearsing hypothetical future scenarios. These 2 mechanisms work hand in hand beautifully. Anticipatory anxiety creates the problem, the intense discomfort with the unknown, that sudden spike in cortisol, and mental simulation acts as the brain's trusty, albeit kind of exhausting, tool to try and fix the problem before the event even happens in reality. It's basically a flight simulator for your social life. Which brings us to part 3, the illusion of control and the brain's logic. The golden question here is, does this mental tool actually work? We really need to unpack the biological why behind the brain's relentless need to simulate these events over and over again in the theater of your mind. Let's walk through the brain's logic step by step. Picture this. You're planning to ask for a raise tomorrow. Step 1, we encounter uncertainty. We have no idea exactly how that meeting is going to unfold. Will they say yes? Will they laugh? Step 2, we mentally simulate the scenarios. We draft what we'll say, what they'll say, and exactly how we'll counter their objections. And step 3, we attempt to control outcomes. By rehearsing every possible conversational branch, our brain truly believes it's establishing control over the uncertainty. It's essentially trying to map out a dark, unfamiliar room before turning on the lights, convincing itself that if it just scripts the perfect dialogue, it can absolutely guarantee a safe, predictable outcome. But let's jump into part 4, the anxiety feedback loop. because reality rarely goes according to the brain's meticulously crafted master plan. The irony here is quite dramatic, and frankly, it's a bit of a tragicomedy that we play on ourselves every single day. The brain's primary goal in all this rehearsal is totally noble. It desperately wants to resolve uncertainty and make you feel secure. But the actual result? Increased anxiety. Instead of finding peace and readiness, we end up winding ourselves tighter and tighter. Think about the physical toll this takes on you. Your body cannot always tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. As you rehearse an angry confrontation, your body floods your system with cortisol. Your heart rate elevates, your breathing quickens. We are physically stressing our bodies over a threat that literally does not exist in the present moment. We fall right into a trap built by our own coping mechanisms. So the crucial point is exactly this statement. Mental simulation increases anxiety instead of resolving it. It is a stunning bit of irony. By trying to control the terrifying unknown through imaginary conversations, we actually make ourselves feel significantly worse. We trick our nervous system into believing the conflict is happening right here, right now. We're essentially self-inducing a full-blown fight or flight response while we're just standing there washing our hair. It's wild. All right, part 5, redefining your overthinking. Let's take a collective deep breath and slow down for a second, because understanding all of this clinical machinery, the anxiety, the simulation, the feedback loop, it gives us an incredibly empowering opportunity. We can move away from frustration and step into a powerful paradigm shift. And this brilliantly illustrates what we need to do. We usually slap this negative label on ourselves. I am just overthinking. We say it with guilt, we say it with frustration, we tell our friends we're just being neurotic. But we need to reframe this completely. Instead of saying, I am just overthinking, we need to realize I am trying to feel safe. This is what your brain is actually trying to accomplish. It's not self-sabotage, guys. It's an earnest, if maybe slightly misguided, act of self-preservation. I want you to hear this exact quote sourced directly from the research, and I really want it to sink in. You're not overthinking. You're trying to feel safe in a mind that hates the unknown. Doesn't that just completely flip the script? When you catch yourself rehearsing that intense argument with your coworker for the 5th time today, you don't need to judge yourself. You don't need to be angry at your brain for spinning its wheels. You can simply pause and recognize that your mind is deeply uncomfortable with the unknown, and it's doing the only thing it knows how to do to try and build a little bit of psychological safety. That shift from harsh self-judgment to genuine self-compassion is absolutely vital for your mental well-being. Which brings us to our final parting thought. The next time your mind races into the unknown and you catch yourself drafting a 20-page script for a remarkably simple conversation, what are you going to do? Will you judge your overthinking and spiral further into anxiety? Or will you take a breath, step back, and recognize your brain's clumsy but well-intentioned search for safety? The choice is entirely yours, and realizing that you have that choice makes all the difference in the world. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it gave you some fantastic insights into your own mind, and I will see you next time.